Hey, this is Christopher with another episode of What's Brewing, and today we are sitting down to talk with Derek, otherwise known as Griff, for part one of his interview to talk about his book, Labels. But before we do, let's roll that beautiful B-roll. Hey, Derek, thanks so much for taking the time to meet today.
Hey, brother, so thankful to be here, so excited to be here, my man.
This is awesome. So we are filming here at the Bayou Church. This is where you work?
Yep, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that. How did you end up here? Are you from Lafayette or are you a transplant?
I'm a transplant, so most of my family's from down south, like Plaquemine area, but I actually came over here 3 years ago. Yeah, I've been on staff at the Bayou Church 3 years now. Came from Baton Rouge. I'm originally born and raised in Monroe, Louisiana, but I've made myself always around, bro. I've been in New Orleans, Natchitoches, where I went to school, man, Central Louisiana, Shreveport, everywhere. So,
you're
man,
a gumbo, basically. You got a little bit of everything.
Absolutely, yeah. I will say Lafayette's like the greatest place I've lived, since I've been alive, honestly, in my opinion. Yeah,
so
it's
for
great.
years, I was in Ville Platte, Louisiana, still one of my favorite places, have a lot of great memories, good food. But when I would come to visit or go do anything, fun or exciting, I'd always come to Lafayette.
Yeah.
Some of my folks go to Alexandria, not hating, love Alexandria, it's a great place, but this is to me where I felt most at home and eventually myself moved here too.
Yeah, I agree. I was always an anomaly up north. My dad was a big Cajun dude. He got, moved to Monroe to play basketball at NLU at the time. That's now ULM, and me and him were always anomalies up there. So I really do feel like I fit more at home in Lafayette. So I agree with that. I agree with that for sure.
So my understanding is your job description is student pastor. What is that for those who are uninitiated or don't really know what that means? What does that mean?
I get to lead and influence teenagers from 6th grade to 12th grade, man.
That's a tough age group.
Absolutely. And so, but I get to lead them and influence them with the gospel of Jesus Christ and really help and teach them how to become better versions of themselves.
That's awesome. I was meeting with another business owner. She was younger, and I used the word next gen because I know that's kind of the term that you guys do for that, the next gen ministry. And I think it's always exciting because that's an age where there's a lot going on emotionally, physically, spiritually, obviously. And it's really awesome to get to meet people who are, a friend of mine once said, there are a lot of things that count that can't be counted, right? We can count people in seats, we can count money, but I think the difference that a mentor or a coach has in a young person's life, I think it counts in ways that we just can't understand. And so on behalf of the folks here, we really appreciate what you do. You do a great job. You're very approachable. And I think you're tackling an age group that most people would say, I don't want to have anything to do with it, right? It's too tough for me. Good luck, have fun, God bless, but I'm not into it. And you kind of dive in head first every week, and that's what you do. That's cool.
Yeah, no, I love it.
So let's talk a little bit about your book. So a few questions here. What's the name of the book?
The book is Labels, Destroying the Lies God Never Gave You, and Embracing the Truths that He has.
So what you're saying is we should all go home and destroy our label makers. Is that what's happening here? Okay.
That's right.
Just want to make sure because I label a lot of things. No one thing defines me, but I do have a name tag. So,
right, absolutely.
So what, for you, what was that process like? When did you decide you were going to start this journey? Because I know authorship is a very laborious process. It's not something you start and then have the next month. When did this start for you and why did you begin this journey?
Well, it's funny. I started writing it at the beginning of 2021, but really it's been a journey all throughout my life from when I was in middle school, high school, all the way through college, even now. I've always been somewhat of an anomaly. Just a deviation from the norm. And I feel like even as a pastor, as you're looking at me right now, I'm wearing a hoodie, I'm wearing joggers and some sneakers. Man, I wear this to preaching on Sunday nights. I wear it when I travel. Even when I go to the barbershop and they find out I'm a pastor, like, well, you don't come across as a pastor. Why? Because I'm not this overtly, sophisticated, professional. I'm me, I'm real. And so, but also like when I think about labels, when I think about how a lot of times in our lives, somebody can look at me and judge me in a way that might not be true. Like in their mind, they have created a perception. And we often use that term as perception as reality, which I'm like, but what if that reality is still not reality? What if it's not true? And so for me, as I was writing it last year, I started thinking about my whole life and how I know I've been labeled. We also all struggle with that, man. Whether I've been in a broken family, whether somebody's divorced, whether somebody's an addict, like what happens is even when you overcome those things, people still identify you as that.
Oh yeah. 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. There's a stigma that comes with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I once said that oftentimes we don't let people change. Yeah. We tell people, hey, you got to forgive yourself. Yeah. We tell people that, hey, you've got to work through it. But I think what drives me more than anything else to not change sometimes is, well, you already think that's who I am. Let me be the villain. Let me be the thing that you think I am, because you've already decided, what can I do to change it? And I think we've got to let people change by stop labeling them and saying that's the only thing that you are, because that's never been true. You're not one thing, I'm not one thing, no one's one thing. And I think that's an interesting concept, because we often don't realize that many people give up and lose hope to have you said it earlier, a better version of you, because they just think, well, this is just who I am, and that's going to follow me for the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
I think we have to change that.
Yeah, and even as a student pastor, as a speaker, evangelist, man, being able to travel all around and talk to so many teenagers, they're all dealing with some crazy things, especially in the last 2 years of the shutdown, of the isolation. I mean, it's on my scars, right? Like and I was talking to a kid after I preached the message on labels about 2 months ago at a Fields of Faith, and he came up to me and goes, man, I have been in and out of foster homes, and I'm sick of being named fatherless. I'm over it. And that night he gave his life to Jesus and said, but now I have a father, right? And so he took off that label, destroyed the label of fatherless, and now I have a father. And so for
powerful.
me, and so he's ripping out what he believed was his identity at one point, destroyed it, and decided, no, I'm gonna believe what the truth of God tells me. So and another tagline of the book is, don't ever take on a label that God never gave you. And so for me, it's like, that's so true, because God calls me his own. The only status, and especially the teenagers, but even the adults on Facebook, Instagram, the perfect Pinterest family, man, the only status that really matters is that I'm a child of God. And if I can walk in that identity, I will not only won't label myself, but I won't label others, because I'll give them the dignity they deserve.
Yeah, and we hear that idea, a lot of times we see, that there are principles of not being judgmental, but oftentimes it's hard not to have a bias.
Yeah,
it's our experiences, our influences. We've kind of been taught to hold people accountable, say, hey, you made a mistake and you gotta live with it. But I think sometimes we punish people emotionally for things that they've already done the time, right? They've already punished themselves enough, and we have to show, I think, a level of forgiveness and graciousness.
Well, there's a part in my book, I love what you just said, because there's a part in my book where I say, your past might describe you, you might fit a description, but it no longer defines you, right? Like, I can describe to you where I've been, but that's no longer who I am. And so, like you said, like giving people the benefit of the doubt, understanding that I no longer have to walk in that. And it's a description, it's part of my story, and it may have shaped me a little bit, but it no longer defines me.
Yeah, our history is not written in indelible ink, right? We can erase the board and get a redo. And I think that's really, really important. Well, we're coming up on our time for this half of the interview. If you're enjoying this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We really appreciate you following the channel. It helps us do these videos at absolutely no cost for those that we get to spotlight. We've got part 2 coming up next week, so stay tuned for that. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. That way you know when that next video comes up. As always, we hope you're doing well. We hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you in the next one.